Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for your listening pleasure. Making his way to the ring, your host of the Turnbuckle Topics Podcast, here's Pat Deneen.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topics Podcast. I'm your host, Pat Deneen, and today I come to you to discuss the breaking news that we got early Thursday in regards to the WWE and TNA Wrestling announcing their multi-year partnership deal. We're going to get into that, the specifics of it, and all the excitement surrounding it between the WWE, the NXT roster collectively, again, the main roster, NXT, and of course the TNA superstars who are overjoyed, who never had the opportunity to be showcased on NXT or the WWE main roster, or once upon a time may have been there and looking for a second opportunity. So I think it's a beautiful thing. We're going to get to some of the names that tweeted out their excitement on Thursday, as well as, again, what this all means going forward, especially this Sunday, right? TNA, they have a pay-per-view. It is called Genesis. I believe this is the first time they're bringing this pay-per-view back since 2021, although this is their 13th time having this event take place, that is Genesis. And even though the 9 matches are strictly TNA talent, from what I could see here, it looks as if, ever since this announcement, especially in the last 24, 48 hours, that it's a bit of a cross-promotional event. You know, they're showcasing NXT stars and certainly the NXT logo. So what's that mean? Who's going to show up in Garland, Texas on Sunday to represent NXT? What feuds could we potentially see? I mean, this past Tuesday, we did see the TNA Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich present at the NXT show. She got into a bit of a back and forth with Cora Jade, even on Twitter, following the show. So maybe Cora Jade tries to interrupt during Masha Slamovich's championship match. She'll be going one-on-one with Rosemary. So let's start with breaking down the exact announcement that we got on Thursday, January 16th. Now again, WWE TNA Wrestling announced a multi-year partnership deal, NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars to appear across weekly WWE and TNA programming, WWE premium live events, and TNA pay-per-views. Now, this says, I'll get through the mumbo-jumbo as quick as I can to get to the meat and potatoes, but it says WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings, and TNA Wrestling, one of the world's top wrestling brands and subsidiary of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, today announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities within WWE and TNA programming for NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars. Now, the agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, which airs live on the CW and TNA Impact, select WWE premium live events, and TNA pay-per-views, in turn bolstering their in-ring development with exposure to world-class talent and coaching. Now, this historic relationship demonstrates that collaboration and competition do not have to be mutually exclusive, says the Senior Vice President of Content and Distribution for TNA Wrestling and Anthem Sports and Entertainment. Our partnership allows the TNA Wrestling brand and its incredible athletes to reach a significantly wider audience while giving WWE and NXT stars an opportunity to cross the line and gain valuable experience as they join forces with one of the most talented rosters in professional wrestling today. The response to our collaboration over the past year has been tremendous and both companies have benefited, but the fans have reaped the greatest reward from this talent crossover and working relationship. Pretty much sums up by saying, we look forward to growing and evolving our partnership with TNA Wrestling and its outstanding group of athletes by creating new opportunities to further the development of our talent and to elevate the viewer experience at home, said WWE Senior Vice President of Talent Development, Creative Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. Now, former TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace, who, by the way, speaking of the Heartbreak Kid, just did an interview that was recorded with Chris Van Vliet, I believe, also took place on Thursday. I'm not sure when that's being released, probably over the weekend or early next week. She was donning the vintage Shawn Michaels shirt. She's obviously on her way to NXT or the WWE main roster, either or. I would assume NXT when her deal is up, I think in a few days, right, with TNA. And we saw her a whole lot on WWE TV in one way or another, starting with the Royal Rumble last year. What a surprise that was, showing up the Women's Royal Rumble as the TNA Knockouts champion. And we saw her numerous times on NXT as well. So Very exciting stuff for this whole group, especially Jordan Grace, I'm sure. And so, again, Jordan Grace, Joe Hendry frequently appeared on NXT throughout the course of 2024, and they each had NXT Championship opportunities. So I know he went up against Hendry, that is, against Ethan Page at No Mercy, and the NXT Women's Champion went up against Roxanne Perez at Battleground, which I believe was in May or June 2024. Now, many NXT superstars also crossed the line into TNA wrestling, including Wes Lee's short-lived reunion with the Rascals, Charlie Dempsey and the No Quarter Catch Crew, Riley Osborne, Dante Chen, Gallus, Ariana Grace, Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, Wendy Chu, Brinley Reese, and more. And so that pretty much sums up the official announcement that we got this past Thursday. So it's very exciting stuff. I'm not going to go in necessarily to the tweets that they put out, but Mickie James, you got to remember, kind of broke the mold. If you remember, it was either the 2022, I think it was the 2023 Royal Rumble when she first showed up at the Women's Royal Rumble as the TNA Knockouts champion. Of course, Jordan Grace would do it a year or so later. And so Mickie James tweeted about this, sharing her excitement. Santino Marella also tweeted out his excitement. You know, he's been featured on TNA the last year or two. His daughter, Ariana Grace, in NXT. And Zaya Brookside, also former WWE talent in NXT UK, in NXT as well. Her father, Robbie Brookside's a trainer and producer in NXT. Zachary Wentz, you know, he went on to share his excitement as well. Also known as Nash Carter when he was with MSK in NXT. Again, now he's Zachary Wentz with the Rascals, saying they're still the number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team titles, which he's not wrong. Several months ago, last minute, they were replaced by the Street Profits. I believe it was due to a Trey Miguel injury. And so we had the Street Profits go up against Fraxium. We saw interference by the Bloodline that night, which was very exciting to see. I believe it was Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and so on. So they never revisited that opportunity. Maybe we'll get that sometime soon. How about the Hardys? Matt and Jeff Hardy expressed their excitement. The current TNA Tag Team Champions. It's just a matter of time till they finish, their careers in WWE. Does that mean one more match on the main roster? Does it mean an opportunity on NXT? Maybe becoming NXT Tag Team Champions? That would be cool. That's something they have not been able to, have the opportunity to do. So before they go into the Hall of Fame, inevitably so. So a few others here. We had Cedric Alexander of NXT retweeted X Division. Maybe I'll come over there for an X Division title opportunity. Who knows? Maybe Robert Stone will bring back TNA's Robbie E. that we saw in TNA from 2010 to 2017. He also, former X Division champion, former TV champion, and two-time World Tag Team champion over there. Even SmackDown GM Nick Aldis had a pretty good career in TNA as well. He tweeted out a photo of his time over there, writing TNA, standing for Total Nonstop Aldis. Xavier Woods, too. So this is very exciting stuff. Again, Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance, which her relatively new partner, Heather Reckless, she's Heather by Elegance. They have a tag team opportunity this weekend as well. They're looking to become Knockouts tag team champions, going up against the team of Spitfire, Jody Threat, and Danny Luna. So before I wrap up this episode, I will go over the card for TNA Genesis, which I think is an 8-match card with just one pre-show match. So we'll get to that. But so again, as you could see here, from what I read in the first few minutes, discussing some of the names that tweeted out their excitement, whether it was on X, on Instagram, whatever social media platform they have, just so excited for it. Some people that never got the opportunity to go over to WWE, or people that, whether they got released or whether they're, way past their prime, and maybe getting an opportunity to either show up on NXT or show up on a Raw or SmackDown. And I also think it's very cool for especially a lot of NXT talents to get the opportunity to go to TNA that we saw the past year, whether it was a Brinley Reese or a Tatum Paxley, and the list just goes on. Wes Lee revisiting his TNA days over there. So I think that's really cool. If I could just mention, there's two women that come to mind, and that is Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie. Taya's been with AEW about 2 years. Deanna's been there just over a year, and now they're together as the Vendetta. Showcased a little more in the last month or two than usual on AEW, but needless to say, I don't want to speak for anybody, and I'm not going to say they necessarily regret it, but man, I think of Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo, right? Two women that had a lot of success in Impact and, / TNA for years. Both had runs in NXT for a little bit. Deanna was there for a little bit longer. I think a couple years longer than Taya Valkyrie was there. Taya, I believe, was renamed Frankie Monet or something like that. Never really got going, her whole character and all that. And it's just such a shame. Not to say that Deanna and Taya should have necessarily stayed with TNA and not made the leap over to AEW, but the what ifs, you just wonder, right? Them staying on TNA and then maybe having an opportunity on NXT at some point in time, really getting to remind people of just who they are, and maybe reminding WWE, you should not have ever cut me, release me, let me go, because I have a lot to offer. And I think I know Deanna and Taya Valkyrie still have a lot to offer. Absolutely do. Taya looks like she's in the best shape of her life. This past year, her transformation has been unbelievable. She looks great. Deanna's consistently doing her thing, and I'm sure they wonder, they see a lot of other ladies that they used to wrestle up against in TNA that are obviously now doing well in WWE, and that's Chelsea Green, United States champion, Mishin. She was in the finals for that U.S. title opportunity last month in Long Island. Seeing their good friend Jordan Grace, have a great run this past year in TNA and crossing over to being in the Royal Rumble to start the year last year, and then being able to go over there in NXT numerous times, and it looks like Jordan's well on her way to signing with NXT. So I don't know. I feel for Deonna Purrazzo. I feel for Taya Valkyrie. I wish they still had that opportunity to, bounce back and forth between those promotions. And how about Camille, right? I don't want to get too sidetracked on AEW because this is about the WWE and TNA partnership, but where is Camille? It's been 2 months since her and Mercedes Moné parted ways. I had said for the longest time, I thought Camille should have been the one to take the TBS championship off of Mercedes as early as Revolution, as late as Double or Nothing, which would at least give Mercedes a 1-year reign as champion for that title, the TBS title. But that said, it's a very, very exciting time. Now, what I also thought was incredibly interesting is Scott D'Amore, right? Talking about TNA. You think about TNA, you definitely think about Scott D'Amore. He was released, of course, a year ago or so, or fired, however you want to say it. And we wondered what was next for him, right? He had that Maple Leaf Pro, that promotion he had his first show for a couple of months ago, doing his thing there. I believe it was mentioned on a couple of instances that he was backstage, rumored to be backstage at WWE as recent as last month. And I believe this past Wednesday at AEW Dynamite, it was also mentioned that Scott D'Amore was backstage. I wonder what this means. Now, it makes a whole lot of sense that maybe things aren't going to work out with him if he were to get an opportunity at WWE. Also because they're working with TNA, and obviously that probably left a very bad taste in his mouth with the way they did him, I guess you could say. Scott D'Amore was so excited for this new chapter from Impact returning to TNA, and then shortly thereafter, right after the relaunch, the rebrand, he was gone in like a month. What was he gone? February, March at latest. So maybe he just doesn't want to be a part of that WWE TNA bit. Who knows if he was ever officially offered an opportunity there. That said, I wonder if he's going to get an opportunity for AEW, because Lord knows that would be a massive pickup for Tony Khan, and much needed to help out with AEW mainly. Then, if you want him to help out the Ring of Honor brand, that's cool too, but I would have all eyes and ears focused on AEW. So we'll see what happens with Scott D'Amore. So I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to see who's going to be at this TNA Genesis pay-per-view this Sunday. Again, it's a TNA show, all TNA talent on the card, obviously, but they've been promoting it the last day or two with NXT as well. Again, with this whole cross-promotional bit. I'm sure that we're going to see Cora Jade there, right? And that's likely to be Masha Slamovich's next opponent for that Knockouts Championship. But I wonder who else, what men will show up at Genesis and potentially spark up a feud, or what other women. So maybe we have something as far as a tag team scenario approaching Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jody Threat, or Ash by Elegance if they get the titles, her and Heather. So we'll see, but let's jump into this card real quick. The pre-show match, Frankie Kazarian, Leon Slater. I'm not doing any predictions here. I'm just going through the card. Frankie Kazarian, Leon Slater to open up the show. Then we got Moose versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. Personally, I'm hoping Ace Austin wins this title. I think he's a 2 or 3 time champ, so I'd love to see him get it done, especially on behalf of all the emotional momentum from Chris Bay's injury a little under 3 months ago. Is 2+ year tag team partner, man. They made a lot happen. They were very exciting. One of my favorite tag teams in all of pro wrestling the last couple of years, not just TNA. So would love to see Ace Austin win that. Again, we have the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships where Spitfires, Jody Threat and Danny Luna will be defending against Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance with their personal concierge. Of course, maybe that may be the deciding factor. He might pull some sneaky tactic and get the win. We'll see. But Josh Alexander and Mike Santana could easily be match of the night. This is an I Quit match. We have a singles match, which I'm presuming would be or could be the last match for Jordynne Grace before she makes her way over to WWE/NXT. But Jordynne Grace is going up against Tessa Blanchard. That's definitely going to be something. We have a TNA World Tag Team Championship matchup where the Hardys are defending their titles against the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. That's going to be fun. I expect the Hardys to retain, though. Again, Masha Slamovich going up against Rosemary, defending her TNA Knockouts World Championship. I'm not sure what to make of this whole match. It's called a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. I don't know what the hell that means. I've been trying to watch as much TNA as I can, but I'm not familiar with what that stipulation means, so I don't know about that. We also have another match here. The System's Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers going up against Eric Young and Steve Macklin. This is a good pairing. I really like this Eric Young and Steve Macklin duo we have here. Talking about two former WWE guys, right? I mean, three if you want to count Brian Myers / Kurt Hawkins. But Eric Young, he was with Sanity over there. Steve Macklin, he was over in NXT for quite a few years. The Forgotten Sons. So, again, when I was watching TNA this past week, Eric Young and Steve Macklin, I like what I saw between them. Steve Macklin, he makes a great heel, but I'm really enjoying this babyface run. I think what we're seeing here is great, and so I'm looking forward to seeing them going forward. Maybe some tag team gold in their future. I actually wouldn't mind seeing them being the ones to dethrone the Hardys. Again, even though they're more of a babyface versus a babyface situation with the Hardys, either or, I wouldn't mind seeing them be the ones to take that tag team gold off the Hardys. And so the main event is a singles match for the TNA World Championship. Nick Nemeth defending his title against Joe Hendry. Now, they've pretty much been teasing this this thing of sorts with Nick's brother, Ryan Nemeth. Is Nick Nemeth just looking out for his brother in all these precarious situations, or is Nick Nemeth actually becoming a heel, which seems to be the case, which I kind of like. I've always liked Dolph Ziggler as a heel a little more. Can he pull off the babyface side of him? Absolutely. But I think he's at his best when he is a heel. So I fully anticipate Nick Nemeth to retain this championship. Again, I believe Joe Hendry's contract with TNA isn't up till the summertime. I'm not sure if that means July or August. A lot of people speculate he'll be following suit over to NXT as well, just like Jordynne Grace. But again, Joe Hendry, I think, has the first half of this year to get through before any of that's possible, which may lead a lot of people to believe that he will win this title on Sunday. But I don't know. I don't see it happening. So I got to go with Nick Nemeth there. And so that's the card for as far as I could see it. Again, 8 on the main card. Got that 1 on the pre-show. And so we'll see what happens there. But again, that's the news I just wanted to discuss real briefly with that TNA and WWE partnership. I'm excited for it. I really wonder what this means now for the Royal Rumble. I wasn't factoring a lot of people, if any, from TNA to show up in the Rumble this year. Personally, I'm a big fan of Tasha Steelz. Would love to see her in the Women's Rumble. Obviously, Jordynne Grace could be there as well. It is February 1st, so she should, by then, officially be a member of the WWE/NXT roster. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordynne Grace in the Rumble again, but this time as a member of that company, right? So as far as a crossover, I don't know. And the whole Joe Hendry thing, I believe it was stated 2 weeks ago that he's supposed to be scheduled to be appearing on the Jericho Cruise, which is around that same time, from late January to early February. So Joe Hendry, he'll be in the middle of the ocean. I don't know how he would be able to attend the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis this year. But I'm looking forward to it. Again, I would love to see a guy like Josh Alexander, again, another one whose contract's coming up, I believe, in the middle of February, right around Valentine's Day. So I'd love to see Josh Alexander in that men's Rumble. That would be a lot of fun, too. So that pretty much sums it up here for me, guys. Again, TNA, WWE, very excited for it. And as always, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. My name is Pat Deneen, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Got a question for Pat? Send him an email at turnbuckletopics@gmail.com. That's turnbuckle, TOPIX, @gmail.com. Find him on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Turnbuckle Topics. Thanks for listening to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. Be sure to subscribe. If you like the show, help others find out about it. leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Join us next time for another episode of Turnbuckle Topics. See you then.